Hello everyone, Ian Cold here, back with another Yandere Devlog. So I'd just like to start off by giving a warm welcome to my newest subscriber, Zacharias. So hello and welcome to the project. And the first thing I did this week is I found a bug during my first ever live stream. The footage actually cuts off a bit before I found it, but basically I went up to an NPC and I talked with them, and I went to continue the dialogue, so go to the next line by pressing space, and it didn't work. I tried frantically pressing space a bunch, pressing enter, it didn't work, and I thought, wait, is this a game-breaking bug that I'm only finding now? And I stopped the live stream, I delved into it. What it is it's something with the secret computer, which is something you can try out in the music place. So if you go to the secret computer and you use it, and then you go to talk to an NPC, their dialogue will pop up, but you can only continue it with the E key, which is the E to interact for everything, and not the space and enter keys, which you should be able to continue the dialogue. So it's not actually game breaking, but it would definitely confuse players, because it sure as heck confused me. And all it really was is I flipped a setting so that you couldn't do any tricks while using the secret computer, and I forgot to flip that off. So I've now added that flipped off, and now everything is working before, during, and after using the secret computer. So everything's good. That little heart palpitation is dealt with. The next thing I did this week was I gathered up the hardware and licensing requirements for the game. So for the hardware requirements, there's a few specific things that I'm not going to cover here. They will be listed on the itch.io page, but they shouldn't be anything to worry about. So these are a combination of Godot 4's requirements, so Godot is the game engine I'm using to make this game, as well as my project's requirements. So for the CPU, nothing too crazy, so 64-bit CPU and at least 4 physical cores. And just for perspective, the examples they give are an Intel chip from 2015 and an AMD Ryzen chip from 2017. So if your computer is only 5 years old, you are probably okay. And then for GPU, Vulkan 1.2, Metal 3, things like that. I wasn't able to find the dates on these examples, but most computers should be able to support that as well. And then for the OS, so recommended at least Windows 10, just for the game engine itself. Now, I'm still using Windows 10, at least on my personal computer, and I think some people might still be. I know Windows 11 has been out for a while, but basically, as long as your computer isn't too old, you should be okay. Now for the RAM requirement, so this game does have some loading screens, but they're usually not too bad, and I did try out this game on a bit of a weaker computer to my own, so one that only had 8 gigs of RAM. The game took a little bit of time to load up, like the first launch, but after that it was okay. So I'm going to go with recommending 8 gigs of RAM for this game. And a little thing on that, so some of the backgrounds are really nice, and some of them, like for Taylor and Reginald, are animated backgrounds, and those are really nice, but they almost cause the project a real problem, because they are hundreds of frames of animation of 1920 by 1080, and they have a lot of detail. So when I first loaded them into the game, into the engine, basically the loading screens were 10-20 seconds, and I tried tweaking a bunch of settings, nothing was working. I eventually got them to work by resizing all the images down to a smaller scale. And so the animations you're seeing for the backgrounds now they're scaled up versions, so yes, some of the quality is lost, but I think they still look really nice and they still work. And that way they don't cause 2 minutes of loading time. So that's a little bit of a background on the RAM for this game, that maybe it's still a little bit intensive for a small itch.io game, but it used to be much worse, and I've optimized it down to this. And then for file size, so the executable right now that I'm working on is about 313 megabytes, so not that much. If you have a good amount of files on your computer, you probably already have more than this. And there is a save file, but it's only one file, and it's just a text file with like 20 lines, so that shouldn't really add much to it. And this size might change a little bit as I continue to work on it, but it really shouldn't increase by too much. So about 313 megabytes will probably be about the size of the release. And then for attribution requirements, so I've already had the credits for the game engine and the 2 plugins or add-ons I'm using. I've already had credit for those, as well as my co-contributors in my credits for a while. But I was doing some reading, and apparently Godot has a bunch of third-party libraries that it uses for sound, for some different file reading, writing, things like that. And all of those have credits as well. Now, they don't expect you to go through and read all the source code and find all of that. They have a file that has all of that copyright for you, that you just have to distribute that with the executable. But I didn't know I had to do that until I went and checked. So I now have all the copyright stuff and attribution set up, so I am ready to release this game without any of those issues. But I didn't know, and now I do. And then last but not least, we now have Gloria's sad art. So this was the last art we needed. It took a little while, but now it's here. So from the art standpoint, we now have all the art for the game, and these next few weeks are really just going to be for me to finish 100% testing everything, make sure there's no more like the secret computer where there's a little sneaky thing that I didn't know about. But this game is starting to shape up, and I've started working on the trailer, so I'm hoping to have that and the final 100% testing done by next week. And I'm really hoping to be able to release this game by about the end of this month, June, and also for the 30th devlog. So I'm hoping the 30th devlog is essentially the release devlog. So that's what I've been working on this week. I know not a huge amount of crazy features, but things are starting to come together, and I'm getting ready to think about releasing. Thank you all for watching. I'm Ian Cold. See you next time.